You have absolutely zero memory of learning to walk. Think about that for a second. Something you worked on every single day, falling, pulling yourself up, crashing into furniture, doing it again. One of the most physically and mentally demanding things a human body ever attempts, and your brain just kept none of it. Most people hear that and shrug. Yeah, babies don't remember stuff, and we move on. But that answer has always bothered me, because it treats one of the strangest things in all of human psychology like it's as ordinary as forgetting where you left your keys. You weren't a blank slate back then. You were a conscious, feeling, experiencing human being. You had preferences, you had fears, you had people you recognized and sounds you loved and things that made you feel safe. And then, at some point between then and now, the entire record of that person was quietly erased. The question of why is actually one of the more unsettling rabbit holes in psychology. So let's go. The phenomenon has a name: infantile amnesia. Psychologists have known about it for over a century. Freud wrote about it, though his explanation involved repression and was characteristically Freud. The modern understanding is more interesting, because here's the part that trips people up. The reason you can't remember being a baby has nothing to do with your brain being inactive. During infancy, your brain was doing some of the most intensive work it will ever do. Understanding faces, recognizing voices, building emotional associations, mapping cause and effect in real time. You were learning at a rate you will never come close to again. So the forgetting isn't the result of a brain doing nothing. It's actually almost the opposite. Here's what researchers kept running into. Babies can form memories. A series of experiments by psychologist Carolyn Rovey Collier in the 1980s showed that infants as young as 2 months old could learn that kicking their legs made a mobile move, and they'd retain that association days later. They weren't passive little blobs. They were actively learning. Something was going in. And then something happened to all of it. Here's where it gets genuinely strange. During infancy, your brain isn't just learning, it's overbuilding. Neural connections are forming at an almost absurd rate. By the time you're 2 years old, your brain has roughly twice as many synaptic connections as it will eventually keep. Your early childhood isn't like carefully saving files into folders. It's more like constructing an entire city while simultaneously demolishing half the streets behind you. That instability wasn't a flaw, it was the whole point. It's what allowed a human mind to develop at all. But it meant that everything you experienced during those years was being built on scaffolding that was constantly being torn down and rebuilt underneath it. The part of the brain most responsible for converting experience into long-term memory, the hippocampus, is still structurally developing in the first years of life. The architecture isn't finished yet. So that's part of the explanation, but it can't be the whole story. Because here's the thing, 3 and 4-year-olds absolutely form memories in the moment. Ask a 4-year-old what happened at their birthday party, and they will give you a detailed account, complete with opinions about the cake. Their hippocampus is clearly working by then. Check back on that memory in 20 years, it's still gone. So the hardware explanation only takes you so far. There's another piece. There's a process called neurogenesis, the brain generating new neurons, and it happens at an extremely high rate in the hippocampus during early childhood. A 2014 study found evidence that this surge of new neurons actively interferes with previously stored memories. The new neural growth rewires the circuits that were holding old memories in place, and those memories degrade. Think about what that means. The very process making you smarter was simultaneously erasing what you'd already learned. Your brain's own development was overwriting your past while building your future. And then there's one more piece, the one that feels the most personal. To hold a memory of yourself, you need a working sense of self to anchor it to. You have to register, even implicitly, that happened to me. But the concept of me isn't something you arrive with. It develops. You've probably heard of the mirror test. Put a spot of red on a baby's nose, show them their reflection, and they reach toward the mirror, not their own face. They don't yet register that what they're seeing is them. That self-recognition doesn't really begin consolidating until somewhere around 18 to 24 months. Before that, there's no protagonist for the memory to belong to. There's experience, but no narrator. Language makes this even more complicated. The way we encode autobiographical memories and retrieve them later is deeply entangled with our ability to narrate them, to give experience a sequence, a beginning and an end. An internal voice that says, here's what happened. Infants don't have that yet. So even the memories that formed had no retrieval path, no address. When you go looking for them later, there's nothing to point to. And here's the part that I think matters most. You can't consciously remember any of it, but you can still see it if you know where to look. In the way certain smells feel emotionally loaded for no reason you can name. In the way music can unlock something in you faster than language can. In the way some people feel immediately safe to you, and others trigger a quiet unease before they've done anything to earn either reaction. Your conscious memory is only a thin, visible layer sitting on top of systems that were trained long before you could describe what was happening. The attachment patterns you carry into relationships, the baseline sense of safety or the absence of it that you bring to new situations, the way you react when someone seems distant or like they might leave. A significant portion of that started forming during years you will never be able to consciously access. The memories are gone. The imprints stayed. In a strange way, who you are today was partly shaped by a version of yourself you'll never actually get to meet. And you, the person sitting here right now, are carrying those invisible imprints with no idea where half of them came from. You have no idea what that baby went through to eventually become someone who watches videos about why they can't remember being a baby. Which is, when you think about it, a genuinely strange thing to know about yourself. A lot of what this video is really about is the idea that a significant portion of what drives you is operating below anything you can consciously access. Experiences you can't retrieve. Emotional patterns with no traceable origin. A foundation built before you had the language or the neural architecture to record it. The flip side of that is the stuff that is within reach. The thoughts that keep looping. The mental backlog that never quite clears. The sleep that slips away when your brain won't stop threading through things you haven't dealt with yet. That part is reachable, if there's a structure to offload it before it accumulates. I've linked something in the pinned comment, a set of structured 7-day guides built specifically around externalizing what tends to stay stuck in your head, resetting your focus, getting sleep back under control, specific daily actions so your working memory isn't the only thing holding everything together. If any of that sounds like your brain, it's worth a look.